Obviously I was into movies, and as most humans are these days, I had the burgeoning dilettante taste as a child, and then it really sort of came full force after that. And then the last most major thing, which connects to Nosferatu, was so I saw Nosferatu when I was quite young, burgeoning dilettante, 9. When I was 9 years old, I saw Nosferatu for the first time, and I was already like into vampires and Dracula. I'd been Dracula for Halloween the year before, seen the Bela Lugosi movie a few times. I saw a picture of Max Schreck in a book about vampires in the school library, and then my mom helped me track down a VHS, and I was just utterly mesmerized, like initially by Max Schreck's performance and this iconic makeup design that he designed himself. He just seemed like a vampire, and it felt real. But Nosferatu just really changed everything because the restored version of Murnau's vision that you can see today didn't exist. And watching the film on a VHS that was made from a poor 16 millimeter print, it was very degraded. But that was awesome because there was no artifice. The vampire seemed real. Max Schreck's performance was even more uncanny. In that way, the atmosphere was heightened, and it felt like something that was unearthed from the past. And the the word that gets overused by me and about me, but it seemed authentic, and that was exciting.
Yeah, I mean, simply put, yes, but like obviously seeing the restored versions are a wonderful insight into Murnau and his collaborators' intentions, and it is like clearly like more impressive filmmaking, and all of a sudden the day for night stuff when it has the color tinting like makes more sense.
Yeah.
The restored intertitles make more sense because the version that was kicking around was like the version that played that Henri Langlois played, like with the French subtitles. This version were the English translation of the French intertitles, and so it's like a copy of a copy of a copy, but as it in its degraded quality, it felt sort of unearthed from the past, and that there was and that it just felt real.
And Max Schreck's performance and the atmosphere of the film, and the fact that Murnau and his team turned it into this simple fairy tale, it was incredibly engaging to me. And there is in the Murnau film, the Van Helsing character is a guy named Bulwer who doesn't really do much. And I like the Van Helsing character, but I find that in the book he's a little too sweet for my taste. He's a little too wholesome. I like my vampire hunters to be a little bit more insane. And then something that kind of has stuck with me, until now, is also that Murnau and his collaborators took Stoker's novel and turned it into a simple enigmatic fairy tale. And it's that fairy tale inside of that stuffy novel that has made it last, and made it like one of the most mutable and often filmed and adapted stories ever.
No, I mean, the screenplay is pretty impeccable, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, and I also, it was, I think, the first Hitchcock movie that I also got to see on the big screen. I think they were doing a retrospective at Film Forum when I was still living in New York, and that was like incredibly satisfying to see, like, kind of the genius of some of the simple things of contemporary for the period, like costume design and production design, like just in the opening scene in the hotel room. Just like the detail in something really simple. But I mean, Hitchcock is sort of what was kind of like I didn't go to film school, and Hitchcock in some ways was like the best film school in teaching you like what really are the rules. I think I would say like I studied his catalog when I was trying to learn film grammar like really closely, and Psycho was the movie that I've probably seen. I mean, I've definitely seen the most out of all of Hitchcock's films. I'm sure I saw it in high school. Like I like sort of don't want to talk about Nosferatu, but like it's been discussed a lot that I did a play of high school with my good friend Ashley Kelly Tata, who's now a theater and opera director, and I remember watching Psycho and The Shining, in her living room, sitting on the floor, and being really inspired by both.
I think I imagine Herzog would hate my movie, and it would be against his brand to like it. I think, and I hope he detests it. I'm a massive Herzog fan, and I'm really in love with his works. But I think of course, as we have Kinski's beautiful, tragic, introspective, sad vampire. And the movies that were more influential to this movie, aside from Nosferatu, were not Dracula movies. And I watched the Herzog version a lot as a young person. So in the 10 years of trying to make this, I deliberately didn't watch them. I know that that there are that those influencers are there. They could not be. I watched those movies a zillion times. Minus like a couple sort of things that don't really matter. We were after a different beast to some degree, to maybe to a large degree. But you'll tell me what you think. I love Żuławski's Grotowski like inspired, super intense, obsessed, possessed performances, obviously, and I find them deeply inspired. I mean, his camera work is really sloppy and not so much my style, but it is really frenetic and it is so energetic, and also it's fun moments in the one that's based on Dostoevsky's Possession, The Possessed. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, but to see him work in that world, like he's great at it. He's really great at it. His wife divorced him and he was asked to leave Poland. Part of me wishes that he'd moved to London instead of Paris.